For what, almost 80 years now, one name has been basically synonymous with Hollywood's darkest, most glamorous secret. It's this chilling story of ambition, a really brutal, unsolved murder, and a mystery that, it just still haunts the city of dreams. So today we're diving into the infamous case file of the Black Dahlia. So picture this. It's the morning of January 15th, 1947. A woman is out for a walk with her little daughter in a Los Angeles neighborhood. They're passing a vacant lot, and something in the weeds catches her eye. From a distance, it just looks like a discarded mannequin, maybe broken in half. But as she gets closer, she realizes the horrifying truth. That was no mannequin. It was the body of a young woman, and she had been cut completely in half, right at the waist, with this chilling, almost surgical precision. Her body wasn't just dumped there either. It was posed. The two halves were placed about a foot apart, as if the killer wanted to make sure the full horror of what they did would be seen. And this is where the case goes from just brutal to, well, completely bizarre. The body had been drained of every last drop of blood. It left her skin with this ghostly marble-white look. I mean, this tells you this wasn't some chaotic crime of rage. No, it means the killer murdered her somewhere else, then meticulously, carefully prepared her body before bringing her to this lot.
And then there was the signature of the crime, the one detail that gets seared into public memory. The killer took a knife and carved a grotesque grin into her face, slashing from the corners of her mouth all the way to her ears. It's often called a Glasgow smile, just an act of unbelievable cruelty that was designed for one reason: to horrify.
So, who was this woman, and how did she end up the victim in one of America's most sadistic and famous crimes? To even begin to understand the mystery, we have to understand the victim. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was only 22 years old, an aspiring actress, just one of thousands of young people drawn to the bright lights of post-war Hollywood. She was known for her striking dark hair, and she liked to wear black clothes. In the absolute media frenzy that followed her murder, the press gave her a nickname that would make her famous forever: the Black Dahlia. You can imagine what happened next, right? The discovery of Elizabeth's body just ignited this massive media firestorm. It launched one of the biggest manhunts in the history of Los Angeles. But the killer left behind a crime scene that was just as baffling as it was brutal. The few clues police had pointed to a killer with a very specific and frankly terrifying skill set. The way she was severed was so clean, so precise, it really suggested someone with medical knowledge, maybe a surgeon. The body had been washed clean. You see, this wasn't a crime of passion. It felt like a ritual. This was somebody who was patient, methodical, and completely unafraid of getting caught. The case immediately gripped this horrified nation, and the police were just completely overwhelmed. Get this, more than 150 different people came forward and actually confessed to the murder. Every single one of them was lying. It was this twisted grab for 15 minutes of fame that wasted so much time and just hopelessly clouded the entire investigation. As you can see, the LAPD cast an incredibly wide net. I mean, they were looking at everybody. They investigated doctors and surgeons because of that surgical precision. They looked into powerful Hollywood insiders, wondering if she knew some dangerous secrets. They even investigated one of their own cops. But every single lead, every promising suspect, it all led to the same place: a dead end. The killer was like a ghost. For decades, that was it. The case went completely cold. But then, years later, a new, absolutely astonishing theory emerged. And it didn't come from some dusty old case file, but from inside a suspect's very own family. And this brings us to what is probably the most compelling and frankly unbelievable theory in the whole case. On one side, you have Dr. George Hodel. He was a brilliant surgeon, known to be sadistic, and had powerful connections all over LA. And on the other side, his own son, Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD homicide detective who became convinced his own father was the Black Dahlia killer. So the story goes like this. After his father died, Steve was sorting through his personal belongings, and he finds this small photo album. And inside there are pictures of a dark-haired woman he was absolutely sure was Elizabeth Short. That one discovery launched him on this decades-long personal crusade, with the son using his own detective skills to build a case against his dead father. Steve Hodel went on to write several books laying out this mountain of circumstantial evidence that he believed linked his father to the crime. He took all of his findings to his old department, the LAPD. And what did they say? Their official review found his case credible,
but ultimately inconclusive. It just wasn't enough to officially close the book on the Black Dahlia. So, why? Why does this murder, out of all the others, continue to fascinate and horrify us? Why, after all these years, are we still talking about the Black Dahlia? It's been nearly 80 years. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. 8 decades of theories, books, movies, endless investigations. And yet we are no closer to an official answer today than the LAPD was back in 1947. George Hodel, the prime suspect in the minds of so many, he died back in 1999. He took any secrets he might have had to the grave with him. So despite all the speculation and the very credible theories, the file is still open. Officially, the case remains cold. And so we're left right back where we started, with the exact same question that has echoed through the decades. A young woman comes to Hollywood with a dream, and instead, she becomes the star of its most enduring nightmare. The city's brightest lights have never, ever been able to penetrate its darkest shadow, leaving us with just that permanent, haunting question: who killed Elizabeth Short?